Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining and welcome to our event today. It's great to see so many of you interested in the Master of Leadership for Development course. So this course is a part-time online course, which is delivered in partnership with the University of Melbourne. My name is Daisy James, and I am the dedicated course advisor for this course, and I'm based here at the University of Manchester. My main role is to support prospective students like yourselves watching today throughout their decision-making and application journey. So I'm the main recruitment and support advisor for this particular course, and I'd like to encourage you all at this point that if you are interested in taking the next steps with two really fantastic institutions, to get in touch with me so that I can support you in doing so. So today I'm very, very fortunate to be joined by two of our course directors and our deputy course director today. So Dr. Jaco Renken is the University of Manchester's course director. Natalie Cunningham is our deputy course director here in Manchester. Then across the pond, we are joined by the University of Melbourne's course director, Violeta Schubert. Hi everyone, thanks for joining. So today I'm going to be pitching some questions to our panel so that you as prospective students can gain a deeper understanding about the course structure, our students, and of course our academics. So I guess without further ado, I'd like to start with some introductions. So Jaco, I'm going to come to you first.
Thanks, Daisy, and thank you for the invite. Yes, I'm Jaco Renken. I'm one of the faculty here at the Global Development Institute in Manchester, and been part of bringing this fantastic masters into being from the very, very start.
Thanks, Jaco. I'm going to go to Vicky across the pond.
Hi everyone, my name is Violeta Schubert. Everyone calls me Vicky, as you might have noticed with Daisy. I too, like Jaco, have been involved in the project from the start, and it came about quite a long time ago, 2017, but it's very exciting and we'd love to talk to you about it.
Thanks, Vicky. And last but not least, Natalie, over to you.
Hi, I'm Natalie Cunningham. I haven't been involved with the project from the start. I was brought in last year to work on the project, and did the very first week of the program when we launched it this year. So that was very exciting.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for the introduction. So I think we'll get stuck into the questions now. So a few quick fire questions for you all. First one being, what 3 words would you use to describe good leadership? So I'm going to come to all of you. Jaco, I'm going to come to you again first.
So I would say serving, inspiring and encouraging, with persuasion as a reserve.
Great. I like you've had a reserve one there. Violeta.
So hard. You're making it really hard. Choosing 3 words. I think compassion, understanding, but there is also the thinking, because I think leadership in whether it's social or in community or within an organization requires thinking, that we can't just act.
Thanks, Vicky. Natalie, 3 words to describe good leadership from you.
Listening, collaborating, and collaborating empathically. So.
Yeah.
Great. So a real mix there. That's good. So Jaco, Vicky, this one's for you. And Vicky, I'll come to you first. So what current challenges do you think leaders are facing within the development sector?
Really interesting question. I mean, this has become quite pertinent in the pandemic context that we're in, especially, but also quite a number of things that have been happening within the development space. And let's not forget that development is a very complex space where there are private actors, NGOs, individuals, governments at all sorts of levels. I think reading recently one comment, it came about that the loss of trust in the way we do things, the loss of trust in some of the organizational manifestations and situations the lack of sense of surety about the directions that we need to take in some ways. And I think acknowledging those sorts of things is really an important aspect to the process of what the challenges are. There are so many material challenges, but also ideational value challenges, such as, you know, being more inclusive, the localizing agenda. All these things speak to a really important moment for us across development space to be reflexive, to be thinking about what we've done, what we need to do differently, and how we move forward.
Thank you, Vicky. Jaco, is there anything you would like to add?
Yeah, just to say, I mean, in all those things that Vicky mentioned, it's indeed leaders that are very helpful or unhelpful to cultivate, you know, trust and inclusion and localization and lead in terms of thinking and so on. I not too long ago had a conversation with one of the senior leaders in BRAC, the Bangladeshi international NGO, and it led me to come so convinced of the importance of efficiency. We're pretty good at solving problems in development, effectiveness, but we need to do that quicker and with fewer resources, and we struggle with that. And of course, there are also some wicked systematic problems like climate change and inequalities. It's now vaccine inequality and so on, and the ongoing impacts of this new liberal capitalism that's continuing to impact us. And all of those require complex, systematic and highly political kind of actions. So I'd say efficiency would be an important addition.
Thanks, Jaco. So we are welcoming, or going to welcome, our second cohort of students onto this course early next year. So I'd like to kind of get your thoughts on how you're feeling and what you're maybe looking forward to about welcoming our second cohort of students. We've obviously had a really successful first intake. We've got students from here, there and everywhere, and it's super diverse and they're all really engaged. So I guess, what are you looking forward to the most? And this is to all of you. So Natalie, I might come to you first. Oh, Natalie, you're on mute.
Thank you. Sorry, what I'm really looking forward to is the richness that comes from the cross-learning amongst the students. We've structured the program that we have discussion boards and interaction, and we've had so much learning. So the caliber of people and the experience of what they bring, it just adds such a richness to the program. So I'm really looking forward to meeting people who are then going to help each other learn, as opposed to just learning from the faculty. So that's my excitement.
Yeah.
Vicky, you agree, but is there anything else you're looking forward to?
I totally agree. I mean, I think we all absolutely agree. The what we call the first cohort, but the wonderful, wonderful people that have joined the course, and the passion and the interest to engage. And they come from such diverse perspectives. I mean, not all of them have development background and experience, but they're committed and passionate about making a difference. And I think that I also love the idea that we're not solving problems, we're exploring both problems and solutions. And that collaborativeness, I really think it's exciting. Who knows what kind of wonderful people will join us, join our community, and it's an expanding community.
Yeah, from my side, I think framing it as value co-creation is the thing that I enjoy most. So next week is my first week to be involved in the teaching of our current cohort of students, and just learning about and helping to solve real life development and leadership problems with our study fellows it's really satisfying and fantastic.
Yeah, and something to just mention as well, a lot of our students obviously come to this course to learn the academic theory and learn from you guys and your fantastic faculties, but they also come to learn from each other and build their network and build their connections and relationships with people who are in a different time zone to them. And I think our students have really benefited from that, even though they're only in their first month, 2 months, it's really kind of made a difference to them being exposed to such differing perspectives from their cohort, and of course from you guys. So brilliant, thank you. So the final kind of quick fire question before we go into a little bit more depth about the course itself. So Jaco and Vicky, can we just talk about maybe the skills that our students will, or you hope they develop through studying on this course?
I think Jaco, you mentioned.
I'll be in the spirit of quickfire, just point to the three actual components of what we see to be the foundation stones for our teaching and learning in this. The first is a knowledge foundation and a knowledge about development and leadership theories, principles and practices. But our course goes further in the sense that we also look at analytical competencies to evaluate and understand situations in practice. But it goes even further into practical skills and abilities to then implement the solutions that they've arrived at. So the knowledge, the analytical competencies and the practical skills, I'd say those are the three key elements.
I think absolutely they are the key elements. Underwriting all of that, and the part that really I feel is fundamental, is that for a long time we talk about reflexivity and what it takes to be reflexive practitioners and actors in social actors, is somehow left academic in a way. But we've woven through the very fabric of the whole course, and it emerges in different aspects of the units, that critical self-awareness and paying attention and observing and taking note of self and what is going on and others. And I think that really is a very, very important aspect of it.
Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Jaco. So obviously leadership is everywhere. It's in every kind of sector, industry, in every single one of us in a way, I believe. But what is and what do you think is so unique about leadership within the development sector? Vicky, I'll come to you first.
I think leadership in this sector requires a really fine balance, because there are the business elements, you know, the efficiency, the human relations and getting things done, and sustainability from organizational or the collective that you're part of, and that business end aspect, and you know where we're at and where we need to go. But the fundamental underpinning motivation and reason to do good. And there are many sectors that provide service, but it's not a servitude model. It is the unique spot of development of trying to bring together multiple perspectives and voices, and not trying to impose a direction or a solution, but being committed to the pursuit of solution for social good. So I think development leadership is about, you know, thinking about ourselves as social actors, the kind of contribution and the social good, and what that might look like, and what that shouldn't look like if we're doing it well.
Yeah, I agree with Vicky that there's something different. And very early on in the course, I had a conversation with our dean, and he was asking me, so what is so different about leadership in the development sector? Why can't these students just go on and do one of our fantastic MBAs or something like that? And I said, well, you don't want to get me started on that, because it looks the same, but it's quite different. And a couple of things there. The first is perhaps leading through persuasion rather than through top-down authority that you would find elsewhere. Also, this complex stakeholder configurations that Vicky referred to earlier, beneficiaries, governments, private sector, civil society, NGOs, and multilateral organizations and so on, and all with different objectives, interests and approaches And our leaders in the development sector need to bring that together. Big different challenge. And then the inter and cross-cultural leadership, which is the norm rather than the exception in the development sector. And also dealing with this thing that we call knotty or wicked problems that are often quite open and, really wicked problems that are open-ended and so on, and that requires emotional maturity and resilience in order to deal with. And then sometimes there's this, it's quite often, to be honest, working in very fragile environments, very stressed environments. And then this idea that work in the development sector is often quite temporal, in the sense that our leaders often change location and context and collaborators, and this requires an immense capacity to network and to renew networks and social capital. And then there are many of these unique aspects that are indeed the reason why something like a business-oriented MBA, for example, does not adequately capacitate leaders for the development sector.
Brilliant, thank you both. That was really insightful to hear just how unique leadership is in the development sector. Thank you. Jaco, I'm going to come to you again, and then Vicky, I'm going to ask you how you feel about it too. But Jaco, can you tell me a little bit about where the idea came from to deliver a course that's in joint partnership with another institution quite far away from us?
Yeah, needless to say, this was in pre-COVID times, so I think that's important to acknowledge. But as with any partnerships, it's usually developing on the back of existing relationships and subsequent recognition of potential to, value to be unlocked when you're working together. And this is also true for this partnership, where several research collaborations and master's teaching exchanges have been taking place between Manchester's GDI and Melbourne's SSPS and the Development Studies Group, particularly over years. And both have this ambition to capacitate leaders and leadership in the development sector, and our different skill sets in the online space, as our students will experience, make it mutually beneficial for the institutions and particularly for our study fellows to collaborate on this. And it also helps that Manchester considers the University of Melbourne as our preferred partner institution in that part of the world, and also that the heads of the two institutions a few years ago were very good friends and was very supportive of this initiative. That also helped.
Thanks, Jaco. And Vicky, how are you feeling about the partnership with us? I love it. I mean, I absolutely, look, the two universities, as Jaco said, as well as the development studies program in our school and Manchester GDI, we have, close relations, research and interactions and engagements in various ways. And so there was a relationship, but taking it to this level, it was a little bit fortuitous as well. Just as our universities were considering joint degrees, from our perspective at Melbourne, I was deputy director of the program in 2017, and we were preparing an online management course, and it seemed, they said, this is a great opportunity, because colleagues at Manchester have also been looking at management and leadership. And I think fundamental principles beyond the top layer of university to university discussing is that, with Jaco and with our colleagues from here and from Manchester working on this for such a long time now, 2018 to the present, we've really been building on what we mean jointly. Partnership is not some kind of formal, this is the bit of service that you deliver, this is the bit of service that you deliver. What we've been working on, and what's so exciting, is that we've been trying to think of that amalgam, the collaborativeness, where we have a principle of collegiality based on sharedness, joint curriculum discussion. And even though we, of course, are independent thinkers and have different perspectives in each of our units and what we contribute to the degree, there's this wonderful amalgam and lively debate discussion about, you know, the different perspectives and how we present them together into a coherent program, and we share a lot of the philosophy. And I think, you know, you can't have that partnership without that.
Brilliant, thank you, Vicky. And this question to you, Jaco, and yourself, Vicky, and Natalie, please feel free to feed in if you'd like. But this question follows on quite nicely when we're talking about the partnership, and obviously the structure of the course almost reflects that partnership very nicely as well. So Jaco, can you talk a little bit about how the course is structured and really tell our prospective students what they could expect should they decide to kind of go ahead and apply and hopefully enroll?
Yeah, I'll try and do it concisely. So I think conceptually it's helpful for prospective applicants to understand the two foundations of knowledge that the course is built on. On the one hand, of course, development. So for those who want to build their competencies in development, there is a focus on contemporary development and where things are progressing towards in that area. But the other foundation is, of course, leadership, not assuming that development on its own is good enough. You know everything about development, then you can lead in the development sector. No. You also need to understand and know about leadership. So those are the two foundations, and those are the first two subjects, as it were, that form that foundation. But then to bring them together and say, so what does that look like in the development space? Leadership. We've got a core unit there, a subject on leading development. And those three courses together then form the nucleus, as it were, of the course overall. And then we add the organizational layer focus in our fourth subject, organizational change and development, where we broaden the scope to the organizational context where development is planned and taking place, as it were. And then in our next subject, the fifth one, international management and leadership, we widen the scope even more because we recognize this development is not taking place in isolation or in one organization or in one region, but it's indeed a global collaborative kind of initiative. So those are the intellectual core components, and then recognize and giving real feet to what we said we want to do is also to practice and develop the skills, the actual skills, and to practice that and to put it into place. We've got a sixth subject, which is a really interesting one called Leadership Skills in Action, which is in the form of practical, adaptive, online simulations and so on, where you will have the opportunity to apply your management and leadership knowledge and analytical competencies and skills by working collaboratively to solve complex challenges and conflicts. And then, of course, the course has got a capstone. These are two research-intensive universities, and we believe research is a wonderful problem-solving skill for leaders in the development sector. And then our capstone consists then of either a group project tackling through research one of these sticky problems, or it can be an individual research dissertation that students can tackle if their aspiration is to delve deeper into a particular development or leadership type of issue. Perhaps Vicky can share a little bit about how this is done collaboratively. I've just given the overall structure. Vicky?
So what we do is we teach one subject, foundational, the contemporary development offered by Manchester colleagues, then contemporary leadership from Melbourne. And we're weaving together one by one to the point where we come to, so we are responsible for delivery of 3 units, or Australian context, we call them subjects. And that too, by the way, and I'd love Natalie to speak to that after we give you a little overview, is this wonderful fact that even though it's English-speaking countries, we've had a lot of cross-cultural and organizational interpreting and understanding to do. In the process, our students are exposed to 2 universities. You're guided in learning, but also in the systems and the policies and the processes. by the time that you are also assigned an individual advisor, academic advisor, that gives you the feedback, the pastoral care, the checking throughout your degree. We're throughout your course and embedded in different kinds of activities, whether it's for assessment or not for assessment, is our reflective journal. That reflective journal is your contribution in a particular format, things that you are noting, observing, reflecting on about yourself and through the journey of your study for no one else to see but yourself, and different elements that are at your choice and also constructed as collective learnings. So you have a reflective journal via a system that enables you to follow the journey throughout the course. And I think that is a very fundamental aspect. Yeah.
Natalie, is there anything you'd like to feed into that?
Yeah, maybe just to Vicky's point of the language. I am originally from South Africa and came to Manchester and found Manchester had a whole set of vocabulary, how they referred to things, and then got involved in this program and found Melbourne had. So we created a glossary because we realized sometimes we were talking about a program, a master's, a course, a subject, a module, a week, a unit, and everybody was talking about it differently. And so that was our very first sort of collaborative, experience, and recognizing that language is used differently. So that's another thing, because it's such a global program, and we have an understanding of the complexity of language and how people might interpret one thing. And so we experience it ourselves, but our students will experience it also when they're doing joint projects, they do group projects. So that's also a time when you realize how language plays out in the way we work globally.
Thank you, Natalie, for that input. That's great. I remember us having the same conversation a while ago about kind of the different language our two institutions use. So it is really interesting. And one thing I want to mention before going on to the next question is, obviously, you as a student, hopefully, who goes on to apply and enroll on this course, will have access academically to both the University of Manchester and Melbourne, but you'll have access to all of the resources that are at and kind of based at both Melbourne and Manchester. So what I mean by that is resources in terms of library, wellbeing, support. So you'll have access to thousands upon thousands of kind of journals, books that you can really kind of get to grips with. So you'll have access to our resources as well as kind of the academic teachers and faculty members as well. Natalie, I'd like to come to you. Can you kind of explain to our audience more about the type of student that you'd expect to apply to this course, and maybe talk a little bit about some of our current students, where they're based and kind of what backgrounds they have?
Yeah, I think the key thing is people who want to make an impact on society and want to make a difference in the space of development. And I say that's quite a broad statement, because if we look at our current students, we've got some people who have come from the private sector and want to look at making an impact. So they're saying, well, in their organizations, what can the organizations do, and how can those organizations, private organizations, have an impact? So you get people who got an MBA and who've studied. We've got people then who are actually working in a typical development focus in an NGO. And this could be a very large, global, international NGO, or it could be a very small, one of our current students. She started an NGO in India, and it was started with one or two of them, and it's growing and it's getting huge funding and it's making a difference. So people who are currently working in development, as well as we're getting social entrepreneurs who wanting to impact society and work collaboratively and are working on their own initially. So the diversity, and then the government sector, people who are in policy making or government roles, they are people. But the key thing is that's the space in which you're operating. It's people who want to lead and who want to know how to lead. And as Jaco and Vicky have mentioned, the leading doesn't come through a hierarchical relationship. It comes through influence. How do you work with someone in government when you're an NGO? How do you influence policy making? How do you ensure that the environment is the right type of environment in which to do the work that you're doing? So very much people who want to be leaders. Some already are in senior leadership positions and want the skills, and others are not in that position, are saying, let me have this. So our current students are quite diverse. We've got students from India. Two students are based in India at the moment. And also just to mention, often when we say where are they based, they're not always it's not the initial language. So we might have somebody who's, Portuguese and working in Australia, somebody who's Lebanese and working in Syria, and, it's very diverse. But so from small projects, and then we have people from Botswana, just in terms of locality, Uganda, Australia. We have some people in the new program that deferred, were unable to commit to the first, and they're from the Philippines, Japan. So it's very diverse. We do put all our students into an international time clock, work out where they are and when the best time is to speak to them, when we have the induction and live sessions that we have every so often, and try and make sure that nobody's up at 2 a.m. in the morning. So you might be up at 7 a.m. or up at 8 p.m., but we won't be having people working at long hours. But that's just for the course is designed to be online. So it's at certain points that we'll have those sessions. So it really diverse. Do you want to make a difference in development space? Do you want to be able to lead? Those are the two questions that you have to ask yourself. If you do, then this is the course for you. If you want to just work in development but not be a leader, and want to have an intense knowledge, this would help. But the combination, then the leadership components are also so integral. So then if you don't see yourself as moving into leadership, maybe a pure development master's would be a better choice for you. So this is really people who want to lead and be there.
Thank you, Natalie. And if you're listening to this and wondering, well, I'm not sure if I'm eligible, I want to speak to someone about how to apply and kind of how to take the next steps, really, then this is where my role comes into play. So I can really kind of sit down with you in a virtual room like this one we're in currently and talk in detail about your motivations, your background, and I can really advise you as to whether or not I believe this course is going to be the right move for you personally and professionally. So I offer individual consultations, which can be 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or up to an hour even. It really depends on what you need at that point in your journey. So if you're unsure, I will support you in kind of making sure you become sure in that this is the right move for you. So do feel free to get in touch. We've got a whole range, as Natalie's mentioned, of students on the course from all different backgrounds, and one thing that is required as part of the application process is a supporting statement which really outlines your motivations, and the guys on the call today, so Jaco, Vicky and Natalie, do read those statements and kind of get a better understanding as to who you are as an individual. So again, I can support you in making sure that that's up to a good standard and kind of encompasses all of what we've discussed maybe in that consultation. So get in touch if you're unsure, because I can support you. Jaco, I'm going to come to you if that's all right now. Can you explain to our audience about the different networking opportunities that this course offers students? Obviously, it's an online course, so can we talk about kind of those opportunities available to students.
One of the value bits that's created by doing this jointly with between two institutions is, of course, that you, instead of just getting access to one institution's resources and networks and so on, you get access to everybody's resources and networks. So perhaps I can just outline 3 or 4 or so elements that would really work into this important area of leaders being connected and building their network. So the first one is what we call our community at a distance, and this is an initiative that starts even before the course, and that is for everybody that accept their offers that they receive once they've applied. They become part of this group, and it's a vibrant, buzzing group that discuss issues that are relevant in preparation of the course, but relevant around the topics around leadership and development as well. So you immediately become very well connected with everybody in the run-up to the launch of a cohort. Drawing further on that, once you're on the course, a lifelong strong network will be established during the course within each cohort as they interact and collaborate on a weekly basis for the best part of 1.5 years or 2 years. So even now, our cohort students are in this process for about 3 months or so, and they are best of friends and colleagues and coming up with solutions and stuff together. It will last you a lifetime, an intimate relationship. But beyond that, wider relationships come from interacting with different parts of the two institutions, for example, guest lectures and so on, where our students can then connect with other students in other programs at our various institutions through workshops and online seminars and so on, and also between different cohorts. In other words, it puts another layer of rather strong networking around that. And on a larger level, our study fellows will automatically join the alumni networks of both institutions, and that's likely to be more than 10,000 people, whereby they can gain access to one of the largest development sector practitioner collectives in the world, with different events and programs and a lifetime of opportunities to grow connections in the right space through that. And then I mean perhaps incidentally to this whole process is that our students will encounter many specialists and leading practitioners while they are busy studying through practitioner insights or some of the materials that they read, and they begin to understand who are key players and can connect with those people as well. So there will be opportunities to interact with some of these associates of our course.
Thanks, Jaco. Vicky, Natalie, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Just to say further that, as academics, we are very passionate about what we're doing, and please contact us. We have, people reaching out alongside Daisy and with Daisy's, advice, channeling if somebody has a particular question that is within the range of the academic content or the course. Please just get in touch with us. We're more than happy to discuss and organize a time, or via email if you feel that is better. There's no such thing as a bad question. You might say, hang on, the image I have in my head about this course, get in touch with Daisy. It may just be a very quick clarity point. So reach out. Happy to chat and communicate.
Thanks, Vicky. So a couple of more questions from me before we wrap up today. The next question is around the assessment. So I know we've briefly kind of touched on this when we were talking about the kind of course structure and content, but it would be great to kind of get an understanding of how students are assessed on the course. Vicky, I'll come to you, and Jaco and Natalie, please feel free to feed in at any point.
So one of the things is that as part of the co-designing of the curriculum, there are certain elements that you will see in each of the units of the subjects. There are things that we want and feel that it is important to develop aspects of your critical thinking and analysis, your reflexivity and reflection, your research skills, ICTs, engagement with technologies, which Jaco should speak to because that's his expertise area. But so the assessments also are an important aspect of the different components of building competencies of the course. So we have group activities, within each of the units. You will notice there's individual small assignment of some kind, as well as a group or a team. There you have, and most of the units have a peer review component. Not all, but most of them do. The important thing is that culminating point where we try not to award a massive percentage to a single assessment, but there is a larger assignment near the end, which endeavors to bring together a more deep dive into the studying and thinking on the subject matter. So the timing of assessments and the criteria for assessments, we are really committed to having clear guidelines. And they are very much, the assessments are connected with the goals, the objectives, the intended learnings from the units, but also connect to the intended learnings of the course overall.
Natalie, I think you're in a good position to help us just to give a bit more tangible wheels to that. Thanks.
Yeah. So what happens is each unit will be about 10 weeks with a reading week in the middle. And what will happen is you'll every single unit or subject will get assessed, and then you'll go on to the next subject. And in each of those assessments, there'll be 4 broad assessments, as Vicky was saying. One, you'll get assessed on how you are reflecting. You'll be asked to reflect on the lectures and the contents and provide some online reflection. And we will be giving you feedback and interacting with that. So one is of developing that reflective ability. 2, the critical thinking is we'll be having discussion boards where you'll be commenting on other people's thoughts, and you'll have a task and questions, and you'll get feedback on that. You'll then do a group assignment because we want you to learn from your colleagues, and that will be one other form of assessment. And then you'll have the final one that Vicky was saying, the end assessment, that will happen. So at the end of that, so that will happen every single of the units will have that process. And then at the end, you will be required to do either this group research project or the dissertation, an individual dissertation, which will be your final form of assessment. And you can that capstone project will be a research-based project where you will research something, and that will, together with each of those subjects, will lead to your final mark. Jaco, anything to add there?
No, great, thanks. That's it.
Thank you both. That's great. It's always helpful. I think I get a lot of questions from prospective students about how will I be assessed? What's the coursework like? So it's great to kind of get that insight from you, because I know many of you listening will think, great, I understand now. So thank you both.
Daisy, can I just say no exams? I think that's important to carry on.
I was going to add that too, Jaco. And the other part of that is we know that with most people, busy life, busy work, it would be impossible for you to be able to, have an enormous load of assessments. The assessments have been carefully thought of in terms of your learning, building of your learning and knowledge and skills. but we are conscious of time involved. The other part of it is in every one of our units, there are, whether we call them modules or weekly programmatic themes, we do expect you to read, but you're pacing yourself in many ways as well. But if you don't keep up the required or, you may not be able to read everything, but in each of the units, there'll be required reading that will be identified, and you can plan ahead of it. But it is really crucial that you do engage with the reading, that you engage with discussion boards and comments, that it's not just about those that are actually assessed. Your engagement and participation in your learning is really a crucial component of it.
Thank you, Vicky. And just following on from that, before we finish up today, we advise students to kind of commit to around 15 to 20 hours per week of study time. We understand, and the majority of our current students are working professionals, so this course has been designed to be flexible in nature, so we know it's doable. You can do this alongside your working commitments, but setting aside kind of 15 to 20 hours per week, and some weeks we know and understand you won't be able to commit that amount of time, but that's kind of an average, and hopefully that gives you an idea of commitment time from your side. And having spoken to a lot of our current students and built up good relationships with them, they've come to me and said, it's challenging, but you find your rhythm and you find what works for you, and you as prospective students coming through and hopefully going on to enroll on this course will also find what works for you, and how you structure your time is up to you, but we're here to support you in finding what works, and how we can support what works for you as well. So I'd like to wrap up with the final question. This is to all of you. Is there anything you'd like to say to prospective students who are maybe sitting at their desks thinking, is this course the right move for me? Can I commit to it? Is it the right step for me? Is there anything you'd like to say to those students who want to maybe go on to apply to this degree programme?
Can I jump in there, Daisy? Thank you. So, I mean, my first point is contact Daisy, because Daisy will point you in the right direction. She's the magic one that can help you think through things, and that's really what she is good at. But I do want to just give a quick plug for some of the what we would consider to be the benefits of this course, to think about what it is that you want out of this course. And there's a couple of things in terms of your career that's going to be really, really helpful for you to know, and why we believe this is a viable piece of your education in your career. And something that we haven't mentioned yet is, for example, that in the 2020 DevEx Talent Outlook report, leadership skills was identified as the hardest to find soft skill in the industry. So having a qualification from these two highly ranked universities that specifically develop that capacity, I mean, they have to see that, and it have to be recognized. It is just so distinctive. And importantly, that we said to you guys that one of the things that this course does that you won't find in other programs is recognizing that we do actual leadership development and competency building, and not just assuming that if you have a lot of knowledge and analytical skills that you will be able to lead. And you guys have seen it, brilliant people in terms of their intellect and in their knowledge, but they can't really get the team together or lead change. And this course is particularly geared to help with that. And it's also responding to the unique nature of leadership, as we said. So it's definitely going to be for you if you want to work in a development space instead of doing something like a generic MBA, which is more business oriented. And then, I mean, the unrivaled opportunities within the development space to network, the depth and the scale of that through this program will benefit you tremendously. And then, as Daisy mentioned, the ability to study part-time in online, which means you don't have to interrupt your career. It's designed for that. And it's, we know more and more people are finding it difficult to interrupt their careers, to carry on. So if that's something that plays into your decision making, then you know, this is definitely something worth considering from that perspective. And then also, I mean, sorry for the pun, but there is a bit of a you know, the point that we've got two institutions over here that are highly ranked in the world, and for you to get a joint qualification from these institutions is going to open doors for you, and both reputationally and in terms of our research impact. These two institutions are doing quite well. In other words, there's a track record that they go on to give our students, our thousands of alumni, the necessary preparation to go and make a change in the world out there. And we need that change. And if you want to be that change maker leader, then do consider this from that perspective. Thank you.
Can I add to Jaco, even if you know you have been in a leadership or senior management or senior coordinator role in the sector, the fact is there is not only a leadership deficit in development, and so skill sets and the paying attention to what is missing and the need for more leaders. It's actually a very important, critical time that we're living in, and existent, experienced, smart, intelligent leaders can and should be considering taking a step and really thinking critically about the way they lead. And are there different ways? The kinds of challenges that are coming at not only the global pandemic and the financial and other pressures, the different way of relating and approaching development. This is a genuine space for rethinking our leadership and our development interface, and not just upskilling. They're both very important elements.
And maybe just to end is to say, this is not a master's that you do to just get a tick box of a master's and you squeeze it in.
Yeah.
There needs to be a personal passion for the area. This is something, that's why we have that motivation statement that Daisy can help you fill in. Why do you want to do this master's? We are looking for people who want to make a difference in the world, who want to see more justice, who want to see less inequality, less poverty. This is what matters, and this master's is for those people. If you want to just have a master's behind your name and want to do it online, this is not the one for you. It requires a personal passion, it requires a commitment, and it requires a real desire to change the world. And those are the people that we want on this program.
Thank you, Natalie, and thank you to you all for joining me today. It's been a really great session, and I hope everyone who's listening to this has found it as insightful as I have. And I think just to kind of finish up and follow on from you, Natalie, is really start thinking about the why. So if you're sat there at your desk thinking about this course, think about why you're really thinking about this course at this point, and get in touch with me and tell me about it, and I can kind of guide you through the process and hopefully get you on track for enrolling with us in early 2022, which I can't believe I'm saying. But Jaco, Vicky, Natalie, thank you very much as always for your time. And I look forward to seeing you all very soon. And to those listening, get in touch with me. My contact details are studyonline@manchester.ac.uk, and I'll respond to you as soon as I can. But thank you to you all, and I wish you a very nice evening, Vicky, and day ahead, Jaco and Natalie.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.